What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Yee Yee podcast. It is episode 24. Have no idea how we made it to 24 episodes. I thought we would top off at 10 or 11 or 12. Today we got a good little cast over here. We got Tyler sitting across from me.
T-Money.
T-Money. Uncle Ty Ty, also known as. We got Parker right beside me.
Hey, how's it going?
And then we have Stu for the first time ever.
Hey.
Are you a little nervous?
No, I'm not nervous.
You seem a little nervous.
No, I don't get nervous.
Stu is one of the best crap talkers I think I've ever met in my entire life. Wouldn't you say, Ty?
And then, no, I don't think so. You mean in the cornhole?
Yeah, he's really good at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he has something to say, he can back it up with his play, but I don't think he's that bad. Not nearly as bad as you.
My play has gone downhill lately.
Yeah, and so has your crap talking. So
yeah, well, they're directly
hand in
correlated.
hand.
Yeah.
So who is Stu for the people who don't know?
So Stu, I'll introduce you a little bit, but then you can kind of tell the listeners about yourself.
Okay.
How long have you been shipping with us?
It's been about 4 months or so.
Man.
How long have you been playing cornhole with us?
So Stu is a full-time cornhole player, part-time shipper for Yee Yee Apparel. Wouldn't you say that's true?
I would say that's true.
So Tyler and Stu, if you're ever looking for them, just like in the middle of the day randomly, I always know where to find you guys. It's wherever you can hear the thud, thud every few seconds from cornhole.
Would you guys say that it's gotten a little bit out of hand, or do you think it's a healthy break from work still, which is what it was intended to be?
I feel like it's a healthy break from work. Some days it can get out of control, I would say. I would say yesterday kind of got out of control because it turned into one game, one more game, and then by 8 games, it's all right. We'll play the best out of 45 now. So
Well, that's because your buddy Matt was here, and Stu and Matt play and professionally? Not professionally.
no, not professionally, not at all.
They play in a league, and they're undefeated, so it was kind of fun for us to play against them.
What's y'all's team name?
Shake and bake
Oh, really?
with the hyphen in the middle.
Oh yeah, with the hyphen.
Shake and bake. Yeah.
So y'all haven't lost yet?
No, in all games played, we had forfeited. We had forfeited one. So
My phone just went off. Hand up.
Go ahead and get it over with.
Yeah.
We have our milk chug less than, I think we're about 2 minutes in.
I think I've.
That was a group me notification too. For those of you who don't know,
Whoa! Who was that? Did one of y'all do that? Was that Granger?
it doesn't say.
Granger.
It was the book and group me.
Okay, so y'all got it too. I guess
didn't.
my Wi-Fi is just better.
For those of you who do not know, each episode of the Yee podcast, we put a pint of cold milk in the middle. First phone to go off or get a notification has to chug their milk.
Today we have different milk every episode. Highland. Today we have Highland 2% reduced fat milk. This looks like the cheapest stuff at the store. So here goes nothing.
Excellent start. Solid finish. You got a milk mustache.
that was
Look like
that was a nice mustache.
They're getting easier, I think. Not
Are
sure.
you usually the loser of that?
Well, there's debate for that because everybody has, you can grab your phone now, everybody has different settings on their phones. So Tyler only gets phone calls. And so I get all kinds of notifications. So it's a little bit, I think that I'll probably end up being most of the milk chugs just because of how I have my phone set up.
Oh, thank goodness. All right.
Okay, so back to that. So you work here part-time. What do you do full-time outside of Yee Yee?
I work for Temple Fire and Rescue. I've been working there for about 5 years now. I'm a firefighter paramedic out at Station 3, which is our special ops station. And before I became a firefighter, I served 10 and a half years in the Marine Corps.
Nice. Thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the support.
So tell us a little bit about your service in the military. Where were you stationed? Is that how you ended up in, I guess, this area?
No, actually, I was originally from Houston.
Okay, that's right.
A suburb of Houston called Cypress. It's northwest side. I enlisted in the Marine Corps from there. Went to San Diego for boot camp. After boot camp, I went for like a year-long avionics school in Pensacola, Florida. then on to North Carolina for a follow-on school, where I learned to do communication, navigation, ordnance computers for all fixed wing, rotary wing aircraft. While I was over in North Carolina, I got orders to go to South Carolina to do the air station down there. So South Carolina was primarily my home for about 7 years, because I did my job mainly down there with the air station. And then I went to do a drill instructor for 3 years on Parris Island, South Carolina.
Did you have the mustache when you were a drill instructor?
No facial hair. And I didn't
Obviously,
even
I guess you can't do that.
I didn't even have any hair on my head.
I think they changed it to where you could do a regulation mustache now, right? If
Yeah.
it's like in between the
Well,
lips or something.
it's always been that way. But the way that they have it is it can't go outside the corners of your mouth, and it cannot come over your top lip.
Can you look into that camera real quick and make sure the listeners get a really good look at your mustache? How long have you been growing that?
This mustache is going on about 9 months now.
God,
So,
beautiful.
yeah.
It looks like it's intimidating. If you were a drill instructor with that, I would be terrified.
Would you, or would it just be like, I don't know?
No, I think
I don't know. You're a little intimidating.
speaking from experience as a recruit. You know, when drill instructors get in your face, it's very intimidating, and you don't care about anything else except for not screwing up. So I don't think that would have.
I feel like 10 and a half years is a unique number of years for an enlisted guy to be in. Isn't it usually 4 and out? Or how did you extend that, and how did that happen?
So with anything air wing is what we call it. If you enlist in the Marine Corps, you go infantry or you do other jobs basically. And we have the air wing side. There's tons of different jobs, but air wing is basically anything that has to do with aircraft. And our school is so long, that year-long school in Pensacola, that they extend our contracts by a year. So it's a 4-year contract extended by 1 year because of the schooling takes so long for us to get trained in our job. So
cool. I knew how the commissioned officer role went because 2 of my best friends are pilots in the Marine Corps, and I went to Texas A&M with them, and they went to officer candidate school in Quantico, and then they ended up at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola, and then they switched off between like Corpus Christi and Pensacola. Yeah. And then did you work on Ospreys?
I didn't do any work on Ospreys. They were just phasing them in. My work was primarily on F-18s. And then whenever after I got done with my drill instructor stint in Beaufort, South Carolina, I went over to California, where I primarily did rotary wing aircraft. So
cool.
Where'd you meet your wife?
We were actually high school sweethearts.
Wow.
We've been married for 15 years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All girls.
And all girls. We have 3 beautiful girls who are at in school right now. First day of school right now.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
You seem like such a girl dad.
Yeah.
Like you're like I said, you're kind of intimidating. It's a good thing. Like you're not a pushover at all. Like wait until those girls get in high school. You're probably gonna be running some boys off.
Yeah.
You would be terrifying to go up to the door and ask if I could take your daughter out on a date.
Well, I hope all the boys feel the same way that you just described to me. So.
And you've got the warning now on video, so in a few years you'll just be able to show them this.
Watch it, boys.
So Parker, talk a little bit about, because we hired a few firefighters part-time shipping at the same time, and what's interesting about, and we've talked about this before, what's interesting about the shipping role and the warehouse associate role that we have, and we're always hiring and different things, is that it's like a pish-posh of different people. We've got high school kids, we've got college kids that are finishing up college, we've got firefighters that are working time on and then have a full day off. So talk a little bit about how the firefighters that have joined our team and worked for us have had a great schedule set up for what we're doing here.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar at all with the day-to-day life of a firefighter. What is, like, to explain to people, what does your average week look like for those people that don't know? Because a lot of people just think it's like you wake up and from 9 to 5 you go put on your fireman uniform and then put out fires and you go home.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. We work 24/48s at our department, 24 hours on and then 48 hours off.
Is that typical?
That's a typical shift.
Okay.
Yes, there's others that I could get into, but it would just bore people to death listening to.
And
that.
what's the purpose of that 24 on, 48 off?
It's basically for like rest and recuperation.
Because you have to be on for those 24 hours.
Yes, we have to be on for those 24 hours. Not awake entirely the entire shift, because after a certain hour, we can relax, get comfortable. But from 8 to 5, it's business as usual. We're doing station duties, taking care of our rigs, running calls in between all that, with meals and training. And everything, hydrant maintenance. There's a ton of things that we do.
Saving people
it's
from
not just
fires.
saving people. It's just maintenance and upkeep, and making sure we get a lot of new guys coming around in our department, and it's training them, getting them familiar with our district, getting them familiar with EMS calls. Just there's so many things. So but I mean, yeah, we do get to sleep on shift. But if we have a busy night, 2-3 calls in the middle of the night, and we're definitely feeling it the next day, and we need those 2 days off to really get it back.
So with that being said, that you can sleep during a shift, do you think that it's easier to be a fireman than a police officer?
I think a lot of police officers want to be firemen.
I think so too.
But I would say that we have a more relaxed job, and whenever we show up, people want us there. They're typically they're like needing something, needing help.
Exactly.
And cops, on the other hand, and a lot of cops, whenever we have CPRs, wrecks, stuff like that, they're the first guys there, and they are taking care of people. So like my heart goes out to all the police officers that are out there doing their thing, helping out in the community. So
yeah, I grew up in a law enforcement family. My dad is law enforcement, and he always talked about how he says whenever I was a little kid and he was figuring out what he wanted to do, he wanted to do something. He always thought he wanted to do something that was going to make me proud as a little kid. And now how it's changed so much. Like, it used to be a really, really cool thing to be a police officer, and now they're just looked at by the general society. Like a lot of our fans, I don't want anyone to get mad. Obviously, we respect police officers and everything, but there's a lot of people out there that the group think of the average law enforcement officer has gone down in like general society. And you've seen a lot of stuff happen over the past few years, whereas firemen, or firefighters, it's just been kind of steady, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So
Their schedule has worked great for us, to go back to your original question, because we don't necessarily need people Monday through Friday, like 9 to 5, but we need people who like want to work like 2 or 3 days a week, if that. And so I feel like it's really interesting for like Stuart, your schedule, because a lot of guys then just have 2 days off, and it's nice to have those days off, but I feel like a lot of guys like to stay busy and like to be doing something, and also that's also just another opportunity to like earn some income for your family. And that's been the great thing about the firefighters that we've dealt with at Yee Yee, is because a lot of times they have families and they're adults, and they're not that there's anything wrong with hiring young guys to come work, but you have a level of maturity and just taking the job seriously when you're here. So it's been really helpful. The one con about the firefighters is they're always having babies, and so we've lost several to taking care of newborns recently.
Everyone's been great, like the most solid dudes, but it's like, oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
So I want to switch it up a little bit, and Tyler, kind of ask you, so we've got shows. It's a crazy time for concerts. We kind of went through this period, I feel like, with COVID, where things were getting back ramped up, and then now there's all this uncertainty. Shows, big festivals all over the country have been getting canceled. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, in your talks with venues and promoters and all these upcoming shows, because Granger has a lot October, November. What's the thought there? Are things changing? Like, are we still full steam ahead? How does that look like as a manager?
Well, our show on Saturday just got canceled in Washington. It was a military base.
Oh,
Today?
They canceled it because of COVID.
I did not know that.
I don't know if there's an outbreak or whatever, but that got canceled, and that sucks. because that obviously changes a lot of plans, and financially the guys got to do flights and travel logistics and stuff like that. But recently I'm seeing a lot of stuff come in, like that group me, your notification for why you had to drink the milk was because our show coming up in Boise is just all kinds of COVID, can I say that?
Yeah, you can say it.
Like protocols and safety measures. And so there's basically no like a lot of backstage stuff, like no fans or anything backstage, new meet and greet policies, all this kind of stuff. But I guess the bright side, and there's a few others, like in Seattle, everybody I think has to be vaccinated. So I'm starting to see that. And so the bright side is a lot of this stuff sucks, but the bright side is, look, at least they're not canceling like they did in 2020. Mm-hmm. Like if they're putting these protocols in place, at least we can still go play the show. So. Yeah.
And so where do you think that this takes us? Where do you think in 5 years how is the concert experience going to look like? Do you think in 5 years we're still going to require vaccinations at shows? Do you think we're doing this for a short time to try and get COVID numbers down, or do you think this is just how it is now? If you had to guess.
What was the question?
Well, I just think
how it's going to be in 5 years.
Basic question is, I wonder if this is just to get everything under control, or if this is the start of something that is going to just carry on for the next several years, however long.
I have no idea, man. I just hope we're able to still. I think like I said, I think the good thing is if they're making people get vaccinated, at least we're still doing the shows instead of just canceling it. All the income, the band crew is furloughed or whatever, has to stay home, find other jobs. At least there, that the positive is there's a path to make sure that we are able to still do live concerts.
Yeah.
I don't agree with making people get vaccinated and all that stuff, but
I was hearing some people talk about how it's going to turn into, because it's a virus, it's going to change and evolve, and so it's going to turn into the flu shot every year as you just get your yearly COVID shot.
Yeah.
And it's just we're going to have little mini outbreaks for the next 5 to 10 years, but who knows? I don't know.
I think it's important that you say that too, because as a fan's perspective, I've seen some messages and they're like, I don't have my vaccination. I'm not getting my vaccination, which I think that is fully your right. I'm not getting it, and now I can't go to the show. And I was looking forward to this. And the thing is don't be mad at Granger, because we're just doing, like, it's just been a waiting game for us. It's just been, let's see what the venues say, and we'll adhere to it, even if it's not what we necessarily agree with, because, like, this band and crews across the country, all across the world, weren't able to make income for a full year, which, destroyed a bunch of the music industry. And now we're at a point where whatever it is, we're trying to get to a point where we can make income again.
And I think an answer to that is doing stuff on our own and creating shows on our own. Like a lot of these shows that are having these protocols are private businesses owned by companies like Live Nation or AEG that have these strict policies and guidelines of how all their clubs and venues are supposed to operate and festivals across the country. So maybe that just means that we try to veer off and do our own thing, where we just go do a big parking lot in a field that's not sanctioned or governed by anybody but us. And if you want to come, and you can, and we're not going to require you to do anything, just come show up.
There's been artists that have found success in doing the independent route. Everyone talks about the independent music, but I mean, like an Upchurch, every single time I see him do a show, it's a independent promoter. It's not any of the big promoters, and he's still, selling out huge rooms.
Well, he's still playing. Sometimes you just can't get around playing certain venues and stuff that are privately owned.
Yeah.
Stu, has this affected your world at all with like these house calls that people will make for like COVID sickness and stuff? Because like usually you guys ended up like put on those house calls, right? Of like the in-home emergencies. Has that like increased in the last like 2 months with like the uptick? Or
I would say the call volume initially rose with the first outbreak, and then it's just been kind of steady ever since. We have seen an uptick in calls.
Why do they send? Because to me it was always confusing why they send fire trucks to like house calls that don't necessarily have a danger of fire. Why do they do that?
EMT, right?
Yes. So if you're a firefighter, certified firefighter in Texas, you have to be medically trained at the EMT basic level. And obviously people can go to the EMT intermediate or EMT paramedic level. And I'm EMT paramedic. So, and in the fire department that I work for, every engine company is a paramedic company. So a lot of times we only have 5 ambulances running in our city. So a lot of times
the size of Temple, that's crazy. I figured y'all would have
You said
more.
5 total?
5 on the contract is what we have.
Gotcha.
It's it's a private ambulance service. We don't run our own ambulances.
So even if it's not a danger of a fire, they're sending you guys because you are trained.
We are medically trained.
Medically trained for medical emergencies. Interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to learn all the different industries that COVID has affected. Some, negative, and then like e-commerce has boomed. It's just crazy. It's always interesting to learn the different areas and how it affects them. Last thing before break, I want to talk to you guys a little bit. So whenever this podcast drops on Wednesday, you will have, God willing, a little new nephew. Isn't that crazy? What are your feelings? I want to be sensitive to the subject because Granger's not here, and y'all are the uncles. But has it set in yet that Maverick is about to be born into the world?
I don't know. What do you think, Park?
We have a Stu will be able to attest to this, but I've heard some guys before say that they felt a little guilty when their child was first born, because when they're first born, they think that they're going to have this like unbelievable bond and love them no matter what and die for them and just like feel like it's the most special moment in the world. But I've heard a lot of guys be like, it's just kind of like a little blob and it's just like doesn't feel like you thought it would feel. It's just kind of like, what is that thing?
Well, you definitely do have expectations on how it's going to feel, for sure. But
because they just come out looking like little aliens, right?
Yeah, you build it up, but it's a beautiful thing, really. All 3 of my daughters, it was very emotional for me. So I'm just an emotional guy because my dad's super emotional, so I get it from him.
Yeah.
So whenever they came into the world, it was super emotional for me.
Was the first one, like, by the third, were you a little less scared than the first? Or, like, because there's just so many possibilities. Like, especially that first one, you've never seen it. You've never seen your wife go through that. Like, that's got to be kind of terrifying.
It was a little scary, but, Heather was super calm, cool, collected through the whole experience with our first daughter, and it kind of kept me calm. So I think that helped out a lot with how she handled it. So
it's pretty. Go ahead.
I think with the dynamic is funny, having 3, 2 nephews, 1 niece, and now about to be a 3rd nephew. With London, the first one, it was like, I feel like we were in the hospital, like we went and like the whole family was there. We're in the waiting room. Mm-hmm. We're so excited. It's the first one. Then Lincoln comes and we're just like, cool, we've been through this before. I think we went up there just for like the day of the birth. And then for Riv is like, just call me when he gets home, we went to see Riv, but I feel like with Mav, it's going to be like, granted with COVID and all this stuff, we can't even go, but I just told Granger, I was like, I don't know what's happening, but just call me when he gets home and I'll come see him.
Yeah, we have no idea what's happening. I just like texted Amber because we're doing a shoot this weekend, which will be, when this comes out, this will be this past weekend. We're going to Uvalde with Brian and a bunch of people to do a fall shoot. And so I was trying to like plan it around Mav's birth. And I was like asking Amber, I was like, when are you having him again? And she's getting a C-section, so it's like scheduled. And so she's like, I think she was like Friday at 12. That's when she's having the baby. So that's also interesting when you're like not doing like the old fashioned birth, you're just like getting the C-section. But yeah, with COVID we can't go, so I think we're gonna be able to see him Sunday. But yeah, it's crazy how it's just like, I just saw her yesterday and it's just like, yeah, he's in there, like in your stomach. And then next time he's just gonna be like a human,
like
out.
10 pounds of him. He's like 10 pounds or something.
Oh really?
He's
big.
That's a big old boy.
It's really crazy. Like if you really look at, I mean, this is gonna sound stupid, but if you really look at it from a just like a basic view. It's like, oh, there's just gonna be a baby come out of that. Like, babies are crazy. You're just there, big old big old belly, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's just like chilling.
Yeah, she was saying that
Crying,
with
pooping.
the weight of like all of the fluids and everything that goes into it, that she's gonna be like 15 pounds lighter, like the baby plus everything else.
Yeah.
In like a matter of hours. It's so strange.
The only way I've been keeping up with it is her Instagram story, and she just posted today and said it's gonna be tomorrow or Friday or whatever. I was like, man, I guess because it's a C-section, it's scheduled. So
Yeah, it's scheduled.
yeah, it's crazy. All right, we're gonna go to break. We'll be right back.
What's up, guys? Thank you for listening to the Yee Yee podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see my face right now, and you'll also see my hand. My hand is holding a red flannel and a blue flannel. I think it's called a flannel, not a fannel. Words are hard. They're releasing September 17th. I'm also holding a Brandon Jones racing hat that Granger Smith is going to sign. We're going to send all 3 of these items to one of you if you are subscribed to the Yee Yee Apparel YouTube page. If you comment below that you're subscribed, we're going to pick somebody and send all 3 of these items to. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, go hop over to YouTube, comment, subscribe, and we'll pick somebody. And not that many people listen or watch this podcast, so your chances are pretty good.
80% of people that watch on YouTube are not subscribed.
What in the world? All right, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to the Yee Yee podcast. Last week was our first week ever of picking a listener of the week. And the way we pick the listener of the week is it's someone we're always seeing them comment on our videos, supporting, they subscribe, they like our videos. We need that. So if you're not yet subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and make sure you comment. The listener of the week is Tanya Callahan. So Tanya, I've seen her name a lot, commenting on our videos.
Yeah, Tanya!
Let's go, Tanya. Hey, Tanya, you earned this. Thank you so much. If you want to be the fan of the listener of the week next week, comment below why it should be you.
Y'all remember Tanya Harding?
Was that the skater?
Nancy Kerrigan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nancy
They
Kerrigan.
made a movie about it.
Did they?
Mm-hmm.
What is it on?
I think Netflix.
Yeah, it was a top documentary. Have y'all seen there's a meme going around that all of these younger kids that have never seen Nancy Kerrigan or Tanya Harding are seeing now, and it's Tanya was the one that got stabbed, right, or cut leg.
No, she hired somebody to cut
Tanya was the brunette.
Nancy. No,
Oh, yeah.
Nancy was a brunette. Tanya was a
Okay.
blonde.
So it's Tanya standing up on the railing on the ice rink, and then Nancy is skating by, and she's just got her eyes looking at her.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been the funniest meme. Like, there's a lot of funny content on it right now. Speaking of funny content, have y'all seen the alligator that attacked the lady at a child's event center?
I've seen it.
I've
You
seen
saw
it,
it?
yeah.
Y'all saw this?
I've seen that video as well, Hayden.
We watched it right. We watched it right before because I'm the only one that ever like has my ear to the ground on stuff. There will be some major event that happened, and Parker has no idea. Have you heard about Afghanistan?
I think I've heard. Sounds familiar.
Too far. So this was at a birthday party event center, which is insane. Would your kids have their birthday at an like it was like a reptile house?
No, my kids wouldn't. They don't like creepy crawlies
yeah,
or anything
right.
like that. So
No one's talking about the kid that had his birthday there. That kid's probably weird. If he had it at a
I
reptile
don't think
house.
so, man. I think that's cool if you're a
yeah,
kid
that's
and like
that's,
into
that's
that
cool.
thing.
Yeah, that's cool
Like,
for like some
maybe you're
elementary
weird.
elementary boys for sure.
What's interesting is the camera person just keeping the steady footage the whole time while this lady just had her arm in the mouth. And then so for those of you who didn't see it,
We'll show it. We'll put it in the video.
Yeah, so the death roll of the alligator, very, very heads up part on her end, the girl whose arm was in the mouth, for rolling with it.
Yeah.
Because apparently that it would have broken her arm.
She said that's why she did it, is so that she didn't lose her entire hand. You've got a better chance going into the cage with it.
yeah.
which
She
is
immediately
insane.
just jumped in with it.
The gator's name was Darth Gator, which is hilarious pun, but I will never touch a gator, much less a gator named Darth Gator. And shout out to the real MVP, the guy that jumped in. So I think that something, and he just sat on top of the gator for.
He was wearing Yee Yee, wasn't he? Like a hat.
I think he shouted it before jumping in there.
Hey Brian, whenever we post that video, make sure you Photoshop a hat on it.
Yeah.
No, actually,
I got this. Yee Yee.
What he was wearing, that if you watch the video, it's kind of hard to see, but he was wearing some like expensive Air Jordans. I could tell they're like nice ones, and this dude just went right into the water. So the Air Jordans are ruined forever. So I'd be asking.
Hopefully that lady
she's got to
bought him some.
She's got to get him some Air Jordans and something else, like a gift card to Starbucks or something.
Do you think she will continue to work there after that?
I think people like that
She said she's back to
will.
Like if you're gonna
Yeah,
do it once,
I
you might
think-
as well just
Oh,
keep
she's
doing
in.
it.
Yeah, I think people that are in that sort of profession are, that's just another day on the job. And shout out to her for remaining so calm
Crazy.
and just keeping a level head about the whole thing. I think at one point she was just kind of laying in there with her hand in the gator's mouth, and her other hand was rested. Like
yeah, she had the Burt Reynolds pose.
Yeah, she had the
going.
Burt Reynolds pose. For sure.
Not that this is comparable at all, but when I had that treble hook through my finger.
Here we go. I knew it was gonna be
listen,
stupid.
it's like the same mentality though. It was like it happened. I needed to wait for wire cutters. It's like, well, you just got to be chill and calm. Like I'm sure she was thinking kind of the same thing. Like, well, my hand is in there. It's not coming out until it comes out. I just got to be chill.
The real MVP was the guy that jumped in, but then he was able to subdue the gator, and she jumps out, and it's like, oh, well, that's not fair. And he's not even the one that got into this mess, and now he's just sitting on top of the gator. And the gator started trying to whip him around. He was able to get out. So
Yeah, that's
just
a
a big
real American hero.
Big
Yeah.
old dinosaur.
we should start a GoFundMe for some new Jordans for him. Ben, you were telling me about this story. Bud Light Seltzer is releasing flannel seltzers. What is this?
Just stop, city girls. All I gotta say.
Man, white girls are gonna love this. It's about to be that season, pumpkin spice latte season, where they've got the flannels that are 2 sizes too big. By the way, we're gonna have those this year, so one-stop shop.
Yeah. They honestly look like our flannels a little bit.
Yeah, they
And-
kinda
and
do.
they also kind of look like wrapping paper. Apple crisp, maple pear, pumpkin spice, toasted marshmallow.
Which one you trying first?
Man, I think apple crisp would probably be the best seltzer, but toasted marshmallow sounds pretty good.
Pumpkin spice is gonna sell
I
the
don't
most.
know. I'm most stew. The only seltzer is ranch water that
Yeah.
I've had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got to be Lone River.
Yeah, Ranchwater follows us on Instagram. I would
Is that right?
love to get some type
Well,
of
shout
that.
out to Lone River.
Yeah.
Their stuff is good. That's all we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I don't think I'd try this. We're gonna go right
Yeah, me
into. yeah, me neither. No, none of those sound good at all. We're gonna go into the fantasy rankings. So, fantasy ranking this week is the best country music artists of all time. This one's probably gonna be the most whenever we post this online, it's probably gonna be the most arguments, because everyone has their own little opinions, and we can only put so many on the board. I'm going to. Why don't we let Parker start off, and then we're gonna go this way.
Oh, you don't want to let your
I've
guest.
never. I should be going first myself because I've never gone first. You know what? Actually, you're right. We'll let you go first.
I mean, it's guest of honor, right?
Yeah, fair enough. All right, you get to go first.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say King George.
Yeah,
George Strait.
obviously.
Wow.
I just got to take it off the board.
Wait, so we can't say that if he says that?
Yeah. So it's off the board. I mean, yeah, that was gonna be. Was everyone gonna pick that?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's gonna pick that number one.
I mean, that
Yeah.
shows you that George Strait's the king.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that just ends ends it all right now.
Sorry.
Who's
All
next?
right, you're
Me?
up, Ty.
Ty? Dang it.
Oh, okay. So I get.
I mean, I know who you're going with your first one, anyways, Parker. You're up first.
So I have to go with Granger. For sure, and you smile at me and I'm biased, but we've worked together for so long, and that's the competitor in me. But I just don't think there's anybody that has had the success that Granger has, that has had the success with an alter ego like Earl Dibbles Jr. I know there's been some obviously in the
Cutting
history
edge.
of music,
Mhm.
but with what he's done and we've done with Earl, and then what we've done with Yee Yee Apparel, I got to go with Granger.
What's interesting, there's a lot of different parts about that. We can break this up another time, but you've always had this, us against the world mindset. And I remember one time someone got, I'm not going to go into the details, but I remember having a conversation with you before I got this job. It was right before I got this job. And you were kind of ticked off that someone got a certain accolade over Granger. And it sounded kind of crazy because this person was huge. But then you started breaking it down and you said, did whatever in the red dirt scene, then went to the national stage, does the alter ego in Earl Dibbles Jr., and then parlays all of that into an apparel brand, which this was 3 years ago, and Yee Yee Apparel was already big. But now, look at it. And that was before the Smiths. That was before all these different things. And it's crazy. It's really true. Like, look around. No one else is doing the stuff that Granger and this team is doing.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
You've always had that us against the world mentality, and I love it. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to go with the Possum, George Jones. Probably my favorite voice in country music ever.
Did you know, sorry to jump on this, but we were talking, Todd, at Granger's guitar player, we were talking about the Possum the other day. Did you know that venues, so he got his nickname the Possum because he was scared to be in public and play shows. This is all new to me, so if I'm regurgitating stuff that's not true, help me out in the comments. But venues used to book him with a complete lie, fabrication. They would just say, hey, we have George Jones coming. They would get all the concessions and everything and the beer money, and then last second say, George canceled on us. Here's all your refunds for your tickets, but they would make all the alcohol money. That was a thing venues used to do.
What's interesting, I wonder if that's like 100% true, because his other nickname is No Show Jones.
That's what I meant. Sorry, No Show
Okay.
Jones. That was his thing.
Interesting.
He wouldn't show up.
I
So
wonder if that was true. There's Mike Judge came out a few years ago, King of the Hill creator. He's created a lot of different shows. He came out with a short series. I think it was on HBO, all animated, but he interviewed different people from the Outlaw days. I think Johnny Paycheck was on there. George Jones. There were 5 episodes or whatever, and it was animated, but they also interviewed their bandmates and managers and stuff. Some of them have passed now, and they would flash back and forth between the actual interview and the animation, and it was done so well. But they told the story about how George Jones, one time his wife, I think his second wife, he got so drunk that she hid the keys from him so he couldn't leave, and he rode his lawnmower to the liquor store, like 5 or 6 miles, slow lawnmower. I think he may have gotten pulled over. I don't remember the story, but that's like a legendary story about him. So, yeah, his music's great. I think he's got possibly one of the best voices in country music ever. Mm-hmm. His range is insane. So that's my pick, George Jones. What you got, Part?
All right. I'm not a huge country music guy, self-admittedly.
Whoa.
Mostly because we're in the industry, and so I'm always biased. And so anytime I hear an artist, and Tyler's kind of the same way, it's just kind of like you just kind of have this little like, yeah, it's really good, because it's just a competitor.
It just reminds you of work too.
Yeah, it's just different. It's like we don't enjoy music like those listening may enjoy music.
I get that.
If you imagine whatever industry you're in, then if it was one of your competitors and someone was like, yeah, one of like your biggest competitor just started a podcast, you should go listen to them for advice or like something like that. Just kind of imagine how you would feel in that. Anyway, so I say that also, and I'm about to lose all my credibility with this list because I know this is all time, but I am not going to pretend like I have some insane reverence or respect for old country artists. Not that I don't. I love some Keith Whitley and like some old school country occasionally, but I'm going based off of the amount of times this artist shows up on my current country playlist. And I'm going to go with my number one is Florida Georgia Line. And the more hate that Florida Georgia Line gets, the more I love them, because people love to hate the best. And the more popular you get, the more haters you're going to get. And kind of like the New England Patriots.
Well, listen.
Can I get an amen, Ben?
Let me help you out here and say I love them too. But what a lot of people, some people might realize, but they took us on our first tour ever, major tour. Like I think Backroad was just about to be number one, but very beginning, back in 2016, they took us to Canada on a major tour. First time we've ever played arenas, all that stuff. And so we Tyler Hubbard, one of the singers, him and Brian Kelly. Tyler was always a fan of Granger and Earl Dibbles Jr. Like right at the very beginning of Earl, and so yeah, not to jump in on this, but we're still really good friends with both those guys, and they're just great people. So.
Yeah, and so that goes into like we're a little bit biased. We're just in a different situation than the average listener of country music that just sees somebody post on Instagram and they're like, screw that guy, or I hate that guy, or they sold out. It's like, I know Tyler, and he didn't have to go out of his way to make small talk with me and conversate with me and invite me to his house and to, call and text Granger. Like, he's just a good person, and so I'm sure that goes into it as well.
On a very personal note, Tyler and Brian came to Riv's celebration, so I was like, I'm forever and grateful for them for that.
Yep. All right. I love how he prefaced all that. Because you're going to get crap, but that's okay. I like
it. And when we post this on Instagram, no one is going to get that context.
Well, because we post the graphic, and no one's going to get all the other stuff. It's just going to be Parker thinks that FGL is the top country music artist of all time. I took this as not necessarily who I listen to. I do listen to George Jones all the time, but who's the top ever. So, like, George Strait maybe is not my top played country music artist, but I do understand that George Strait is probably regarded as the top country music artist of all time. So, second round, go ahead.
I'm going to have to give a shout out to my captain at Station 3, Caleb Inman, who is a huge country music fan. Just, from everything.
Yeah, FGL.
So I actually consulted with him yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Whenever I knew that we were going to do this, and I was like, man, you got to help me out here. So I'm glad he threw out a whole bunch of names because kind of like you, Parker. I do love country music, but I dabble in a lot of music, so I'm non-biased. But I'll. For my number 2, I'll go with Merle Haggard.
Dang, you got me.
I'm sorry, Hayden.
I was going to do that. You know how many number 1s Merle Haggard has?
I couldn't tell you.
If you had to guess, Tyler.
Merle Haggard?
Mm-hmm.
I would think that he's probably somebody that didn't have many. The Outlaw thing, He just kind of did what he wanted and didn't, conform to mainstream.
Mm-hmm. So how many would you guess?
Was Merle as outlaw as Waylon? I don't think he was.
Waylon was more outlaw. I think whenever you think outlaw, you think that W logo.
I don't know. Less than Waylon's. 5? I have no idea.
38.
Wow. Geez.
Isn't that wild? I did not realize he had that many. 38 number 1s.
That's insane. That's all time high right there. Aldine has 20 or 21.
Yeah.
22.
That puts it into perspective.
And he gets one every few months.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, I'm sorry for taking it from me.
Yeah, that was my next one. All right, Tyler.
I'd probably go with Keith Whitley. Miami, and Don't Close Your Eyes, and some of that stuff is just some of that old school country I love that just reminds me of going to my grandma and grandpa's house and them having CMT on the TV. So it was very nostalgic and stuff to still hear that stuff. And then just his story sucks with Lori Morgan killing him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alcohol killing him, but
yeah.
Lori too.
Yeah. Embrace debate. All right, my pick is going to be Dolly Parton, just because of what she has done
on TikTok.
On TikTok, yeah. She's I don't know if y'all have heard of her. She's a small TikToker, relatively unknown, but she makes great TikToks.
She's a big TikToker, brother.
Big TikToker.
big boy.
Yeah, no, she's just there were female artists before her. I don't know if anyone's gonna I'm not gonna say the names, but there were female artists before her, just in case someone is gonna say it on their pick. But she just really paved the way, and now, there's been a change in the music industry for sure, especially in country music. But you look around now, if you look at the charts, and there's a ton of females, and there used to not be. It was pretty dominated by males. And so you're seeing a little bit of a change. I think Dolly did a lot of that. She's also got one of the best voices ever. And it's crazy to think how long she's been around. She had number 1s in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and she's still around doing stuff. You can't do this list without putting her on there. She changed country music, so. All right, Park.
Good pick.
Hardy is my number 2 most songs on my country playlist artists at the moment.
Where are you looking at that? On Spotify?
On my own, my country playlist on Spotify,
Oh, just
where I add
you're just
where I
adding them
add
up.
different songs. Yeah, I
Gotcha.
just added them up,
Mm.
and
I do
which
love
is off
Hardy.
of I think one album, which is just insane how much he's.
Is
I
it
just
the Hicks tape or the new album? That Hicks
it's
tape
probably
album is
probably
so
both
good.
actually, but
God.
yeah, I remember hearing that for the first time, and I was like, this guy's gonna be huge.
Yeah. Rednecker was the first one that blew up, and then I listened to that whole EP, and there's a song called Sign Sober You, and it's him, and it's like if he went out that night, before he went out, he wrote notes to himself, like, what to do whenever he gets home, and it's kind of sad song, but it's like, don't call her, basically, like, whenever you're drunk later, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the most well-written songs I've ever heard.
Parker.
It's really good.
But Hardy wrote a lot of Florida Georgia Lines hits too. So
They're all kind of tied
Yeah,
in.
that makes sense. And
Yeah.
a lot of his sound just sounds like him a lot. We were actually talking about that, how his song Boots, was it truck? I don't remember which one it was.
sounds like Roots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was Truck. Sounds like Roots or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, they all kind of. I mean, FGL kind of brought them up, or brought him up already. All right, what you got, Stu?
Round 3, Waylon Jennings.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Why Waylon? Is there like a good reason? Because that's a little bit different pick, but I mean I agree he's up there.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, any Waylon song comes on, immediate volume gets turned up.
Yeah.
I just dig his style. I mean, I just like listening to music. I don't know like all the history and collabs and all that stuff. If a song comes on, if I like it
If
or
you
not,
like it or you don't.
yeah, and
It's kind of fun to be that in a good way, like blissfully ignorant, because now that I'm in the industry and now that I work here, I just know too much. It's like someone will be like, man, I really love this guy and his songs, and I know he's not the best guy in the world off the stage. Like,
Mhm.
ugh, I wish I didn't know that about him.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Waylon is another one that changed country music, and he is the epitome of outlaw music, and he's a lot of the reason that all of these different subgenres out there, him and the Glenn Campbells and a lot of these guys, it's the reason that there's all these different subgenres now, whether it's Americana, whether it's Texas / red dirt country, a lot of it came from him. So.
Yeah.
And he like had a public feud with the CMAs. He has a song or an album. I think there's a song. It's called CMAs country. Oh, I'm gonna mess it up. Country music something. I don't remember. But yeah, he's a great one. All right, Tyler, what you got?
I'm looking right now. I got a few. It's hard for me to say. Can I name a few?
No.
Has to be one.
Yeah, you can give honorable mentions at the end.
You should do favorite country songs on one of these podcasts.
Yeah.
I can do honorable mention after I do my third.
Yeah, after we finish, because
After 4 rounds, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably say, oh gosh, I don't know, The Highwayman.
Oh yeah.
That's
Even though we already kind of picked them, that is
Yeah.
good. Okay, well then I'll just say Johnny Cash. I was gonna pick Johnny Cash. So.
Yeah.
Besides one Highwayman, we got everybody. Yeah, Johnny Cash is another one. Just changed music.
Yeah.
Like, he really just changed country music.
Yeah, he's more rockabilly.
Yeah, exactly. And he like paved the way for the. I'm gonna say this because I know he doesn't have it. He paved the way for like the Conway Twitties, that more rockabilly sound.
Yeah.
That was him first. So, all right, what you got?
Morgan Wallen.
You just what's the label? What's all their label that they're on? Is it Big Loud? Who are all these guys on? That he said Hardy.
Yeah, pretty
yeah.
much.
Yeah. Are you getting paid by Big Loud? Our next sponsor is Big Loud.
Not at liberty to say.
Not at liberty to say. Yeah, I mean those are 3 of the biggest artists in the last 10 years.
FGL's Big Machine.
Oh, Big Machine.
You know who's gonna go down as one of the best? I think. Oh, I guess can we go into honorable mentions?
Yeah, we're
You know who I think is a modern day guy that.
Wait, can I guess? But give me a hint before you say it.
Well, Ant-Man, who runs Yee Yee Radio now, was a program director at a big station in Austin, and I remember him. He was talking to us. We were getting ready for Yee Yee Radio, and he said, there are 2 artists that are the top 7 songs in radio right now. Those 7 songs, there's 2 artists. Who are the artists of all 7 of those songs?
Morgan
He
Wallen.
said, can you name both?
Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're
I think
running,
that Luke
yeah.
Combs is absolute superstar and is going to go down
Yep.
probably in the history books. We're at a really interesting time with these really polarizing guys. Maybe it's always been like that, and I'm just paying more attention now. But I feel like the industry is just so lopsided right now. With
What do
those
you
guys.
What do you think, Tyler? Because this is your day to day.
About what?
Well, like, do you think that those two guys? Do you think that maybe not even those two guys? Do you think that the charts over the next few years will be run by a select few, or has that always how it's been? You've been in this a little bit longer than
Probably.
us. It's probably always been like that a
80-20
little
rule.
bit.
No comment.
Yeah. Okay,
I don't
fair enough.
know. I've just always, I don't know.
You know what
I don't
what I
care.
love about
I don't
you?
care.
Yeah, you are
I don't
head down.
care.
You're head down. I don't care about what anybody
I
else
don't
is
care
doing.
about the politics and the business. I guess I did at one point, but I just don't care anymore. I just like listening to good music, and
Would you say that you're head down, eyes up?
I try these days. I try to
Shut up,
just.
Chase Rice.
I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can I give my honorable mentions?
Yeah, give your honorable mentions.
We can't end this podcast or this question without some 90s country, so I got to go Mark Chestnut. Too Cold at Home is one of my favorite songs ever.
Tracy Bird. A lot of
Tracy
those
Bird,
guys.
yeah. I love like some Hank Snow or some Tammy Wynette, some old school stuff.
Yeah. Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, if you're talking about old school females.
You're naming off. You're a female country artist fan, aren't you?
What do you think of Reba?
Yeah, Reba. Yeah, Reba's on that list too,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hayden
Yeah,
loves
no,
some
she wasn't
country girls
mentioned.
talking about running over their exes, and killing their husband.
I love me some Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
Another female that we left off that has made a huge run back, and she's popular again, is Shania Twain. And she hasn't done anything in a while, but like she's super popular now. We left off. A lot of people don't like him, which is what we found out with our fan base. But Garth Brooks.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He If Tomorrow Never Comes is my favorite country music song of all
Yeah.
time.
I mean, he's another one that
Yeah,
changed
I
country
love
music.
that song.
He
And
changed
I
a
told
lot
him
of
that
things. Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
And then he played it that night in Boise.
Oh, really?
He was like, I said, do you ever play If Tomorrow Never Comes? And he said, no, man, we haven't played that in a long time. And I didn't ask him to play it. And then he got on stage and he goes, this young kid backstage tonight, this teenager. I was like, teenager? What are you talking about?
How old are you?
Told me his favorite song is If Tomorrow Never Comes, so I'm going to play it tonight. I was like, me and Granger looked at each other. We're like, what? Garth just doing Garth things, you know?
It's so funny.
Alan Jackson, Hank
Yeah.
Williams, senior and junior. We
Yeah.
didn't say that. There's a lot of those. Yeah. I mean, and it's one of those things you can start to get into like Ernest Tubb, in the 50s, but we don't really know too much. There's a lot of artists that change country music, but I wasn't around for it, so it's kind of hard for me to really know too much. So, Stu, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me. Thanks. It's been an honor.
Anytime.
Let's go get a game of cornhole in.
Yeah. Let's
Hey,
go sling
yeah.
some bags.
Yeah, let's play 4th hour of cornhole today. All right, we'll see y'all next week. Eat your veggies.